All right, I'm fired up today. Let me tell you what. I've got something that's kind of been on my mind for a while, and I want to talk to you about consultants. All right, guys, I think I've got something you're going to be interested in today, and that is going to be the 7 tips that I have if you're considering hiring a consultant or a business coach. The first thing we're going to do before we get into those 7 secrets is we're going to have story time. So, like everything, I'm telling you this because I know a thing or two, because I've seen a thing or two, and I have made almost every mistake out there. So we're going to talk about the mistakes that I've made when I went and hired a consultant slash business coach, whatever you want to call it. By now, most of you have seen the video series that we did on Olson Fencing and how I failed through that business. And one of the things I talked about briefly in there is that in 2007, when my brother and I were fighting over a business that was worth no money, we hired a consultant. Somebody came, just wandered into our door one day and said, hey, you know what? Maybe you guys could use this. And so they took a look at some of our books and stuff and told us that we needed all kinds of help. And sure, we needed help, but I think they were going to tell us we needed help even if we didn't need help. They just happened to stumble upon a couple brothers that didn't know what they were doing. So we hired them, and over the course of about 2 months, maybe a little bit more, I'm going to say 2.5 months from memory, if memory serves, we paid them about $110,000 to teach us basically how to run a business. And so they went through everything. They taught us how to read a profit and loss, how to read a balance sheet, what the difference between the two were, how they were integrated. They taught us about how to better manage our team members, how to build a team, how to make sure that we knew what profits we were making on each project, how to job cost, how to run incentive programs. I mean, it was basically taught us each and every aspect of all the things that we didn't know that had led us to the mess that we were in. That was 2007. So 2008, they set us up and we knocked it out of the park all 2008. And then after that, the market or the economy crashed and we continued to struggle just because we were seeing some new things that we didn't have the skill set to deal with, and made a whole series of mistakes there. And if you want to know more about that, that's on the video series for how I failed in business. But the long and the short is we paid them about $110,000. Now, looking back on it, would I do that again? Probably not. I would do things significantly different because I could have got that same education a lot cheaper through some other sources, and we'll talk about that later on. Now fast forward to starting over again after Olson Fencing, starting over again as SWI. We had a whole unique set of problems there because after having failed in business, not a lot of people had a lot of faith that I was going to be able to pull it off again. And so obtaining credit was extremely difficult, justifiably so. I had just failed in business. So nobody was looking to help us out with capital. So we were starting from scratch all over again. And unlike when we started Olson Fencing, we just had no credit. Now I had bad credit, which was even more of a struggle trying to get going again, because when we started with Olson Fencing, the phone wasn't even ringing. And when we started with SWI, the phone was already ringing. So there was already a significant amount of business, and the business needed significant capital to operate. We kept trying to talk to some banks and get some financing here and there, and everybody was like kind of encouraging. I mean, some of them wanted to just shoo us off with a broom. But after about 2 years of operating, we thought, well, maybe we'll have a shot at it now because we've got a good history of some profits and we've done really good for the last 2 years. And so we started talking to some banks and still couldn't get any help. So I think it was about year number 3 in business after starting over again. We went in and finally talked to a bank, and it's one that we had been talking to before, and we brought them all of our paperwork and said, hey, you know, we're really looking to get in with a bank and develop some credit again. And they looked at everything, and after they discounted all of our assets, and realistically discounted them, so they were doing things like we had maybe $500,000 in inventory, and they were discounting that down to like 25%. And then they were taking all of our skid steers and stuff that we had bought and paid cash for, and they were discounting those. So if we thought they were worth 100,000, they were discounting all those like 50%. And they look at all this after they've heavily discounted every single asset that we own and said, oh my gosh, you guys are underwater. They basically said, we're scared to death that you guys are going to go out of business tomorrow. But the reality is that those assets still had much more value than they were giving us credit for, looking back on it. So they kind of freaked me out after having gone through a failure, kind of freaked me out a little bit. And I went and said, boy, I must still be lacking some knowledge. So I need to get somebody that can help me out here and maybe coach me through some of this stuff so we can actually get in with the bank. So I went looking, searched on the internet and was looking for a consultant to just kind of help tutor us again, and found a guy in Colorado. Talked to him a little bit. He had been an accountant and seemed pretty reliable. Had a couple meetings with him and stuff, and he said, yeah, I think after listening to us, he said, I think I can help you, and I don't see any worries from what the bank's telling you, and I see no reason that you guys shouldn't be able to make it, and we can get you some financing and stuff like that. So he presented us with a consulting agreement that I'm looking at right here, and I won't mention any names, but said, oh yeah, we can help you with that, and I've got a lot of experience in construction, and here's what we're going to do. So he basically sent us an agreement, and we took a look at it, and we talked about it, and we thought, we probably need the help, I guess. So went ahead and signed it. So the project description is monthly review and analysis of financial statements to determine areas of change necessary to obtain financing, because that's what we were trying to do. Follow-up discussions on how to capitalize expenditures for ease of financing. He was supposed to visit us 6 times. So every month we were supposed to have meetings 6 times. Every other month I was supposed to go to him, and this was in the Fort Collins, Colorado area. So I would travel down there and meet with him and have in-depth meetings over what we needed to do and kind of look over our financials and stuff. And then 6 times he would come to us. It says specifically 4 times he would visit us in Casper, and 2 he would come all the way to Powell. We have unlimited access to all the intellectual capital of our professionals through telephone, email, meetings. Change order will be issued if the scope of the consultation turns into a new project. You are not inhibited from seeking timely advice by fear of the clock running continuously. So basically what he's saying there is you're paying for these services and you have unlimited access to us. So anytime you need us, give us a call. Our services are designed around fixed prices as opposed to hourly rates, and offer you access to the accumulated wisdom of the firm professionals with substantial experience who can help enhance your company's future and achieve business goals. That all sounds great. While the fixed price entity entitles your company to unlimited consultation with us, if your question or issue requires additional research and analysis beyond the consultation, that work will be subject to additional price. So it's basically just talking about change orders. So basically we can talk about anything financial and our company's goals and where we're going to go and how we're going to get the financing that we were looking for a firm fixed price. Now here's the fee schedule. It says that every month we'll pay them $3,000 a month. So over the course of the year, that's $36,000. Then it says contingency fees. SWI agrees to share in the success of the consulting agreement with blank, with the results to the services referenced above for the period of January 1st through December 31st, 2017. SWI will pay blank 7% of the net income on an accrual basis, calculated on an annual basis and due 45 days after year end. And that's basically what our agreement looked like. Now let me tell you what actually took place. So we started the agreement and it was nothing but a complete train wreck. And we continued to pay all this money out, and $3,000 a month, and we were sending financials, and they were supposed to be helping us get into, make sure that our financials were super strong so we could get into a bank. And basically we would send them financials and really got nowhere. We finally did end up obtaining some financing, but it was extremely expensive. It took them probably 8 months at least just to even get us into a really crappy agreement with a bank. So it wasn't really a good situation. We continued to make money just because we did our job. And then at the end of the year, we owed them $36,000 and we owed them 7% of the profits, but they really didn't help our financial situation whatsoever. So at the end of that year, I said, you know what? One of the things is you said you were going to come visit us 6 times and you came one time. All the rest of the times I had to go down there to them, even though that part of our agreement said that they were supposed to come to us all the way up in Powell at least 2 times. They didn't do any of that. So I was a little, he said, oh, no, we'll do better this next year. And, just reassured me that everything was going to be fine. And we'll help you get into better banking this year. And you guys had good, strong numbers last year. And of course we had good, strong numbers because we did our job and then paid out the 7% we were obligated to pay out, even though they had breached the contract by not doing the things that they said they were going to do. So fast forward to 2018, we signed another agreement, and they assured us that everything was going to be fine, and the agreement looked much like that one, only we were able to get in with the bank. But the funny thing is that this gentleman led us to his bank, and that bank required us to, just to make sure that he was locked in. They said, yeah, we'll sign on with you guys, and we'll give you guys all the loans that you guys need. But what we need is, instead of you paying him 7%, since you're just going to give him 7% anyhow at the end of the year, we need him to be a 7% owner. So he took us to his bank, his banker, and then basically snookered us somewhat into giving 7% of our company up for nothing, just so that we could get the financing. Looking back on that, that was a horrible decision, and I regret that decision a lot, because it led to even more problems, because him and the banker were like in cahoots. Basically, the banker was getting all kinds of money because he's getting his interest rate, and he knows that he's got this other guy on the hook, so if anything bad goes wrong, he's got him, but then this guy is getting paid by us. So it's a real friendly situation between the banker and him, and SWI is sitting here footing the bill for it. In 2019, we said, that's enough of this garbage. We're not doing this anymore. And we basically cut all ties. But we did have to get those loans paid off. So he was entitled to a 7% as an owner and then in the beginning of 2020, we were finally able to get him all the way out and cut him off completely, executing our dollar buyout of his shares that we had given up once we paid off all those loans. So that was my experience with that consulting. Now, in the middle of all that, we got into another agreement where I met a gentleman at Fence Tech, which is our annual trade organization. And he said, you know what, we're going to help, we're marketing. What we do is we help market fence people specifically, and we're in the fence business. And he says, we're just looking for some people. And he started out really good, and the fees were pretty low. It wasn't a big deal. Said, we'll charge you $1,500 a month, and we'll help you make sure that your website's SEO'd, and we'll help you do some Google advertising and stuff of that nature. I think we were probably the first customer that this person had ever taken on. So, I'll gamble with it a little bit. And we signed another consulting agreement for marketing. Now, in the very beginning, I would say that he did a halfway decent job of doing all of his marketing. This thing was called the Fence Marketing Team. So I am specifically going to name that, because if you're coming to us from the fence industry, whatever you do, my personal opinion is stay all the way away from fence marketing and Scott Andreasen. That's my opinion. Nothing good is going to come from that agreement. I think that this is a person that is exactly why I'm doing this video. So the person in the beginning that I told you about that we paid $110,000 to, I think they did the best job, but they took the most money right up front in a very short period of time. The second person that I got into consulting agreement took probably about as much money, only over a longer period of time. And then this fence marketing team took a decent amount of money, but it was nothing that was going to kill us. But what ends up happening with these things, and why I want to warn you guys about consultants, is because in the beginning, especially if you get it on the ground floor, everything is going to look pretty good and everything's going to work pretty good. They're going to have very few customers, so you're going to get really good hands-on. They're available when you call them. They're attentive to your needs. They're doing the things that you need, so everything goes pretty good. But then what happened is I started telling other people, we're using these guys, and I think they're doing a halfway decent job, and so they pick up more and more customers. And then pretty soon what happens is because it's a one-man band, there's no time left. And so what happens is that everybody gets less time, and then all the work that's supposed to be getting done doesn't get done anymore. And so then they're in this balancing act where they're trying to make you think that they're doing some stuff, but they're really not getting anything done. And that's exactly what's happened with the consulting people that I dealt with in Colorado and the fence marketing team. Is the more time goes on, the less they do. So in the very beginning, they're going to work really hard to show you that, oh yeah, we're worth it, and you're getting all this money. But once the agreement gets a little bit cozy and they don't feel like they need to do much, they're going to do the bare minimum, especially if they're taking on more and more customers in the meantime, because they need to go recruit new people, because the whole point is to sign up as many people as possible so they can keep that monthly revenue coming in. And so as more and more people sign up, the service gets less and less and less. And then you have what happens with the fence marketing team is it basically implodes, because everybody says, boy, this is just a huge crock of crap. And we're all getting screwed, and people are left very unhappy. And I think if you talk to anybody in the fence industry that's been involved in this or knows a little bit about it, they're all going to tell you, yeah, stay away from this guy. So I'm telling you this, my story, not to say that I'm perfect, but because I am telling you that I've been through all this stuff and I can tell you how much it hurts you. And the reason that people go and they look for these consultants and business coaches and stuff like that is because they're struggling. And so they're trying to find somebody to give them help. And oftentimes, too often, what ends up happening is they find somebody that ends up just picking their pocket and really not giving them the help that they need. So I'm going to give you my 7 tips starting right now of what to do if you're looking for a business consultant / coach. Before we get into all these fine tips, now that you've heard my story, what I'd like to do is have you subscribe down below. If you like what we're talking about and you think the content's valuable, it would mean a ton to us if you would subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you know when we put up some new content, and drop us a comment. We love to hear what you guys have to say, so never be afraid to drop us a comment. And I mean, you can say mean things, you can say nice things. We prefer the nice things, but if you have something mean to say and you want to tell us how bad we're getting it wrong, then I mean, we're open to any comments and we're always taking suggestions. The other really cool thing is if you want to support this channel, you could head over, use one of the links right down below in the description. There's a link below. We've got some pretty cool t-shirts coming out. So if you want to support the channel and show your support of the channel, think about picking up a t-shirt and sharing your successful contracting story, sharing the successful contractor with those around you. So without further ado, let's get into the tips. Tip number 1, if you think that you need a consultant or a coach, look for a mentor within your own business community or within your own association. We are a part of the American Fence Association, and what I should have done when we were running into some problems is I should have reached out to our association director, who's Tony Thornton. If you're coming to us as a fence contractor, I should have reached out to him and said, do you have somebody that you could maybe recommend to mentor us and help us that's got good, strong financial backing? And I guarantee you, he could have hooked us up with somebody that would have been able to look through our financials, had some banking experience and stuff like that, and been able to help us out probably for no cost. There is a whole team of people within your own association or within your own business community locally that loves to see people succeed. And if you get hooked up with the right people, those people will help you oftentimes for $0. And that is the first thing that I would recommend is look within your own business community, look within your own association, look and see if you can find those people that are invested in seeing other businesses succeed, because every single one of them feels your pain because they've been where you've been. So look for those kind-hearted individuals. Talk to your accountant is another great resource. If you're struggling financially, an accountant can point you in the right direction. And even they can consult you much cheaper than one of these consultants will ever consult you. You're better off paying them by the hour than hiring a consultant. But if that still doesn't work and you still don't feel like you're getting the care you need, here's some other tips. So tip number 2 is always check references. Get reviews from some of their satisfied customers. And I'm not talking about the 5 most recent. If you talk to them and they say, hey, here's 5 people, and all those 5 people has just signed up 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and they haven't had 1, 2, maybe even 3 years of experience with this person, be a little bit leery. You want some people that have been with this consultant or this coach for quite a while and can vouch for their accuracy and their success and say, yeah, I've been with them for a very long time, and I always get good return phone calls, and they always give me the time that I need. So that's going to be number 2. Make sure that you get some good solid references and you know who you're doing business with. Because one of the things that we see a ton in this industry are that people like me, after I failed with Olson Fencing, I don't start all over again, and I just decide I'm going to go out and coach other people. You know who's the best coach is? Not the guy that just failed in business. I might know some stuff, but you need somebody that's going to help you through the success, not just the failure. So if I would have started consulting with people right after our business failure with Olson Fencing, I would have been a typical consultant and in no position to offer any advice to anybody given my track record. So I think that the arena is full of people that are what we like to call big hat, no cattle. When you get involved with these people, you don't necessarily know what their past experiences are. So why are they consulting? Why if everything else is good, if they're running such successful businesses, if they even are running a business, why are they consulting? Or are they consulting because their business isn't making any money? This is a way to get more revenue. And a lot of times I think that's what's going on. In the case of Fence Marketing Team, that's exactly what's going on. It's all about the revenue stream. You know, they have that saying, and this is going to be extremely unpopular, but sometimes it's very true. And it's that those that can't do teach. And I think that the consultant business coach industry is filled with people that can't do, so they teach. And the last thing you want to be doing is taking advice from somebody that can't do it themselves. They ought to be able to back up what they're doing. And obviously, they're probably not going to offer you their finances on their business, which would probably be very telling if you could see their last 5 years tax returns and see how much money they were actually able to generate from their enterprise. Tip number 3 is going to be ask them how many people they're already coaching or consulting with. That makes a difference to you, because if you are dealing with a consultant that it's just him, he has a very limited amount of time, or her, I should say, him or her. They have a limited amount of time. The more people they take on, the less time you're going to get from this consultant. So be very leery if they say they're coaching 20 people, plus they're trying to run some other side businesses or anything like that, because you're going to get very little attention from them. And you're going to be one of these people that just ends up paying every month and getting very few results out of them as an end result. So ask them how many people they're coaching and whether or not they're seeking new clients. And if they seek too many new clients and they start running out of time, what's their contingency plan? Do they have another coach that they're going to bring on? And what are their credentials? What's their expertise? Just because they say they can do it, can they really do it? That's what you need, is you need their credentials, and anybody that's going to be working with them to coach you, you need those credentials. And sometimes they're not very forthcoming on what their credentials are. Tip number 4, this is a big one. Never, ever, ever pay a fee on gross revenue. Ever. Let me say that again. Never, ever, ever pay a fee based on gross revenue, and keep that monthly fee as low as humanly possible. And I'm going to tell you why. What people love to do in this industry is they like to collect money regardless of whether or not you succeed. So the higher the monthly fee, the more you're going to pay them, even if you fail. So I don't have to make any profit in my consulting agreement that I just read to you. Even if I didn't turn a dime of profit, I still owe that guy $36,000. Now, the one good thing I did was make sure that it had a profit-based compensation program on the backside. But even if I didn't turn a dime or profit, that guy is still going to collect $36,000 for doing next to nothing. And I have a huge problem with that. What would have probably been better is like $500 a month and then even pay more on profit. So if you're going to get into one of these agreements, try and keep that minimum, that monthly fee, that what they're collecting, to a bare minimum. I would keep that very low, under $1,000. And the poorer you are, the lower I would try and keep that, because what they could actually do is help you accelerate your failure. If you're really struggling, it could cost you so much money that you end up failing faster because they're not doing their job. On the other hand, if you have a profit-based goal, what could happen is that they give you the time you need because they want to see you succeed. Their success is dependent upon your success. And I wouldn't even say a profit-based goal like, we're going to take 10% of your profits over the next year. What I would rather see and advise you to do is, if you're going to get into one of these agreements and you're already making a 10% profit, if your goal is just to be more profitable, I said 10%, but I think a lot of people are making between 0 and 5%. So if you're making a 5% profit and you're just trying to take it to the next level, I would say, you know what, we're going to pay you 25% of our profits, anything over 5%. So have a sliding scale or something like that. Then they're well incentivized to make sure that you turn a profit, because the only way they make a lot of money is if you make money. But so many of these people will tell you that they want paid on gross revenue. And anybody that told me that they were going to collect money on gross revenue, I would run for the hills as fast as I possibly could, because that's somebody that is only interested in lining their own pocket and has no incentive to help you. So never, ever, ever pay on gross revenue. Tip number 5 is to make sure that you have your KPIs clearly spelled out in the contract. So not only are you going to get compensated based on the increased profit of our company, not on gross revenue, but here's the things that we need you to help us with. We need you to help us get from here to here, and here's how we're going to do it. So at the end of the year, I want to know how to read a balance sheet. I want to be very well versed and have you help me so that I understand how to run job profitability and job costing, or I need you to help me make sure that my QuickBooks is set up and it's tight, so that when I go in and take it to a bank, that they don't laugh me out of there because it's a mess. Whatever it is you went to them for because you're struggling with, make sure those KPIs, those key performance indicators, are spelled out very clearly in the contract. That you're going to help me with this, and this, and then you're going to get compensated based on the additional profit we make at the end of the year because you did those things with me. Be very clear in your contract, and don't be afraid to spell every single little detail out. Don't get into some broad contract where they just say, hey, we're going to coach you all year, and for that, we're going to take $36,000 and 10% of your profit. That's not a good agreement. Tip number 6. If they don't meet their KPIs, don't be afraid to fire them. That's called breach of contract. Get your attorney involved. And if you don't want to keep paying them, don't be afraid to get them on breach of contract when they don't deliver. I should have fired my consultant the minute he didn't do any of the things that he said he was going to do, like come and visit us. He breached the contract and we were not obligated to pay any of that. But instead, we wanted to try and save face, and we didn't want to be confrontational. But that guy should have got fired. And instead, he picked our pocket for like another $50,000 or $60,000. And that's what happens. So never, ever be afraid once they don't meet their KPIs and they're not honoring their contract. Don't be afraid to fire them. And if you need to, get an attorney involved, because that'll be cheaper in the long run. But the minute that your consultant business coach stops doing their job, stop paying them. So the last tip that I have is make dang good and sure that if you're sending information to them and they're supposed to be helping you, coaching you through your financials and stuff like that, make sure they're reviewing it. And the reason I say this is because the consultant that we hired, because he wanted to do the bare minimum, we would send him financial statements every month. And, he'd say, oh yeah, this month looked like a good month. And we thought he was reviewing them and doing what he was supposed to be doing. Come to find out, at the end of the year, when it was time to renew our line of credit at the bank was a little upset with me because I had taken some draws to fund another enterprise, which I was fully in my right to do. I could take some draws, and so I took a couple draws to fund another enterprise that I had going on. And the bank saw those draws on the year-end financial statements and said, we didn't want you taking any money out. Now, they were way out of line telling me that I couldn't do that. We were making good profit. There was still plenty of equity in the company. We hadn't drained it or bled it dry or anything like that. But his buddy, because the two were in cahoots, the consultant that I had hired was surprised because in 12 months of that happening, I took a little bit every month, and in 12 months, he didn't even realize. He was not even looking at the financials in detail enough to realize that there was draws coming out. And that is something that's super easy to see on a financial statement, which means he was not giving our financial statements any time whatsoever. And then he yelled at me and said, how could you take money out of the company without talking to me about it? So that's my company, number one. I had a right to do that. I didn't bleed the company dry, but I was telling you every month that I was doing that. It was all there in the financial reports. You could see that. It was your job to review that, and if you didn't like it. But you're mad at me for not doing your job. He was doing such a poor job at even reviewing the financials, which was clearly spelled out in our KPIs for our contract, that he didn't even realize that there was draws being taken out, and that should have been a huge red flag. And it was right after that we ended up firing him and cutting our contact with him. So those are the 7 tips I have for you if you're thinking about getting a business consultant or a financial coach or something of that nature. And let me tell you, this is one of those things that can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So be very, very careful and take the tips that I've given you to heart, because there are bad actors out there that are looking to do nothing but line their own pockets. And they're in our industry, in our fencing industry, they're out there, and I'm sure they're in other construction industries. So just be very, very careful who you get into business with, because there's a lot of people that say they want to help you, but really what they want to do is help themselves to your money. So I've been involved in 3 different situations where we hired consultants or coaches, and the best one was the first one, even though it cost me over $100,000. They actually did the best job, but I would not advise doing that. So just please use an abundance of caution if you're thinking about hiring a consultant, and always look for a way that's going to do it better. I've talked to some people, and one of the people said, well, I just worried that if I went out and I found a mentor that they wouldn't give me any time and I would be bothering them. But if they've signed up to be your mentor, they actually care about what you're doing. And I talk to a ton of people in our own industry, and I'm always willing to share my story and my advice. And in fact, that's what this entire channel is about helping people succeed. And so I have the heart of a teacher, and I know there's a ton of people in our industry, in our fencing industry, that are happy to help out other contractors that are new or struggling. But like anything, you're going to get out of it what you get into it. And I've started some mentoring relationships with other people, and they don't put anything into it, and I can't do it for them. So if you're not going to put the effort into it, you're going to get garbage out, but at least you didn't pay anything for it. A lot of times people will go out and pay a whole bunch for it, not put anything into it, and then just end up being out all the money. And that happens too often. So that's what I'm trying to warn people against and would advise you against. And if I can help you at all, drop me a comment down below. If you're looking for somebody, I'll do the best I can to answer any comments. But please, please, please look within your own industry or your own business community before you ever consider hiring a business coach. So I talked to somebody, I said, you know what, if I don't pay somebody, I'll feel like I'm taking up all their time and I'm wasting their time and I won't get what I need to out of it. But really, in reality, the exact opposite happens, is because like we talked about, these people will sign up more and more people as time goes on, and you'll end up paying for it and you'll still get no time from these people. And then the only thing you're out is your hard-earned money. In the end, you're probably going to get more time and better attention out of somebody that's mentoring you out of the goodness of their own heart and because they actually care about your success than somebody that's charging you an arm and a leg in a lot of cases. And like I say, it just as a PSA, because I've seen it happen too many times, and I feel sorry for these people that get into these agreements and get no value out of it. It really can accelerate your failure. If you're coming to these consultants because your business is struggling, you could be throwing a log on the fire to your failure and not really get what you need. So there's good people in every industry. That's not to say all consultants are bad, but unfortunately, I feel like there's more bad actors than there are good actors. But a lot of people will try and get into consulting not only to line their own pocket, but to get other people to pay for their vacations and stuff like that. So they'll go for a day and then send you all the bills. So watch for that. If none of the fees to get to you are ever included and they're supposed to be making trips and you got to pay a bunch of extra money to get them to come to you and actually have face-to-face meetings and go over your financials and stuff, that's another red flag, I would say. Your consulting agreement should probably have their travel included in your consulting agreement, or it should just be a part of your success. There's not a whole lot that can be gained financially from having that person in your office. With today's Zoom meetings and things like that, you can get financials. And if the biggest part of your business that you're struggling with is the financial aspect, almost all of that can be done off-site without having a whole bunch of travel costs. So be leery of somebody that wants to come and visit you and charge you a bunch of money to fly first class and stay in fancy hotels and spend a day visiting with you. One of the last meetings that I had with our consultant, our consultant down there in Fort Collins, really irritated me. It was a big deal. I needed to get to him. He wasn't going to come to me. And like I say, in the 2 years that we had him, and despite both of our agreements saying that he was going to come to us 6 times a year, he never came once. He only came one time. The last meeting that I had, he made it seem very important and I needed to get down there and come see him. And so I went down there and I came and saw him, and I was like, this needs to be a substance. And I sat in his office. We didn't even look at my financials. We didn't do anything. Took us a whole whopping 45 minutes before he ran out of time and needed to go do something else. And I had just driven 8 hours to come see him one way. And so then it was 8 hours back. So I spent 16 hours to go visit him for 45 minutes, and we could have done it out of a phone conversation or a Zoom meeting. So be leery of anybody that wants to charge you a bunch of money to come visit you at your place or want you to come visit them and pay all those expenses, because most of the business coaching and consulting is financial in nature and can be done remotely. So that's bonus tip number 8. And that's really all I have to say about that now. I think I'm good. And until next time, you have a good dang day and stay away from consultants if you can.